Hello and welcome to Firstpost Spotlights, where we bring you stories that matter to you from all across the world. From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, we shed light on issues that shape our world. I am Joshua Barnes, live from the Firstpost studios. Let's begin with the top headlines. North Korea condemns new US sanctions on 8 individuals and 2 entities accused of cybercrimes, calling them proof of Washington's hostile policy towards Pyongyang and its nuclear weapons program. Hezbollah rejects any talks between Lebanon and Israel, saying it reserves the right to defend itself. The warning follows US and Egyptian pressure on Beirut to open direct negotiations. Gunmen on motorbikes opened fire at a Bangladesh political rally, killing 1 and injuring 2 others, including a candidate. The attack hit a BNP event just as campaigning began for the 2026 elections, the first since Sheikh Hasina's fall. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum calls for sexual harassment to be criminalized nationwide after filing charges against the man who groped her while she greeted supporters outside the presidential palace in Mexico City. And at least 7 people are trapped after a power plant structure collapses in South Korea's Ulsan city. Rescue operations are underway as authorities mobilize teams to save those missing. Let's begin with India. A major tri-service drill along the western border with Pakistan is underway. The Trishul exercise, running till November the 10th, tests joint Army, Navy and Air Force readiness across land, sea and air. The Trishul exercise marks a large-scale joint operation involving all 3 services along India's western frontier. Led by the Indian Navy, the drill is being conducted in coordination with the Army's Southern Command and the Air Force's Southwestern Command.
The Indian Navy is the lead service this year for a tri-services exercise which has started and will run over the next few days. Recent experiences have revealed to us the very significant importance of being able to operate together between the 3 defense forces. We have set this scene off the west coast of India and within the hinterland of the western part of India, and our aim is to be able to see how we can further operational coordination amongst the Army, the Navy and the Air Force.
The exercise, spread across desert and coastal sectors, aims to enhance interoperability, mission readiness and integrated command structures. Over 50,000 personnel are participating, supported by more than 20 warships, submarines and over 40 fighter jets, including Rafale and Sukhoi aircraft. Amphibious operations form a key part of the drill, featuring aircraft carrier INS Vikrant, landing ship INS Jalsava and several landing craft utility vessels. Armour units including Arjun and T-90S tanks, missile systems and attack helicopters are also deployed along the western border sectors. The exercise will also validate joint intelligence, surveillance and reconnaissance, or ISR, electronic warfare and cyber warfare capabilities. Carrier-based operations are being conducted jointly with shore-based assets of the Air Force to demonstrate multi-domain integration. According to defence officials, Trishul is intended to strengthen joint operational doctrines and promote the use of indigenous platforms under self-reliant India. It will also refine combat procedures and techniques to address emerging threats in a complex, multi-domain environment. The Ministry of Defence said the exercise highlights India's ability to operate seamlessly across land, air and sea. It also underlines the collective resolve of the armed forces to respond to any threats along the Western Front swiftly and jointly. Ahead of the drills, Pakistan announced changes in flight routes over Karachi and Lahore regions, a move seen as precautionary. The exercise also covers operations around the Sur Creek region, where Defence Minister Rajnath Singh recently warned Pakistan of a strong response to any provocation. The Trishul exercise, India's largest tri-service drill in years, reflects the country's growing focus on integrated warfare and readiness for multi-domain conflicts. Once completed on November the 10th, it will serve as a blueprint for future joint combat operations involving all arms of national defence. We stay in South Asia. A new ceasefire between Afghanistan and Pakistan is set to begin on Thursday as negotiators prepare to meet in Turkey. The talks aim to prevent renewed hostilities after last month's deadly clashes along their shared border. Officials said the truce remained fragile, with deep mistrust still dividing both sides. Afghan and Pakistani negotiators are expected to resume ceasefire talks in Istanbul today, following mediation led by Turkey and Qatar. The meeting is aimed at finalising the terms of the truce after weeks of heavy fighting. Turkey said negotiators had agreed in principle to create a monitoring and verification mechanism to further prevent escalation, but key terms are still under discussion.
Pakistan would continue to remain engaged in the mediation process and hope for a positive outcome for the 6th November talks. Pakistan highly appreciates the constructive role of brotherly countries of Qatar and Turkey. They have been making their best efforts for an amicable and peaceful resolution of the issue.
Relations between the two neighbours has become increasingly fragile, as both accuse the other of violating past peace agreements. Islamabad claimed Kabul was sheltering Tehrik-e-Taliban Pakistan, or TTP, terrorists who carried out attacks inside Pakistan. This, an allegation the Taliban government has repeatedly denied.
Neither we have invaded anyone nor we will do it. We will defend our country, which is our right, and we will stand against any kind of invasions.
The latest round of violence began after explosions in Kabul on October the 9th. The Taliban government blamed Pakistan for airstrikes near its border and inside of Kabul, while Pakistan neither accepted nor denied the allegations. The clashes quickly escalated into heavy cross-border fighting in mid-October. Afghan officials said more than 70 people, including civilians, were killed in Afghanistan, while Pakistan's military said 23 soldiers had been killed and another 29 wounded in attacks. Both nations had reached a ceasefire deal in Doha on October the 19th, but the second round of talks in Istanbul, mediated by Turkey and Qatar, collapsed after just 4 days without any substantial progress.
कल हमने फैसला किया कि 48 घंटे की जो वक्ती यानी इंटरम सीज़फायर हम करेंगे। 48 घंटों में अगर वो जो हमारी जो बिल्कुल जायज़ शराइत हैं उसके ऊपर वो बातचीत करके मामलात को तय करना चाहते हैं तो हम उसके लिए तैयार हैं बिल्कुल। ये पैगाम उनको कल दे दिया गया। किस्मती से तमाम काविशों के बावजूद ये ना हुआ।
Well, following the collapse of peace efforts, Pakistan's Defence Minister Khawaja Asif issued a strong warning to the Taliban government. He said Islamabad would not need to use even a fraction of its arsenal to, quote, completely obliterate the Taliban regime and push them back to the caves. Asif's remark came soon after the failed 4-day dialogue in Istanbul further strained relations between the two sides. The ceasefire talks followed months of deteriorating ties between Islamabad and Kabul. Pakistan had long accused the Taliban of harbouring the TTP and turning a blind eye to cross-border attacks, while Afghanistan accused Pakistan of violating its sovereignty through repeated internal attacks. The border between the two nations has remained closed for weeks, causing heavy economic losses on both sides. Analysts said that renewed fighting exposed deep-rooted mistrust and competing regional interests. Before the Taliban's return to power in 2021, Pakistan had been one of its strongest backers, but today Islamabad views the Taliban as a destabilising force along its western frontier. A movement it once helped empower, now seen as a growing security liability it can no longer control. We move now to Russia. President Vladimir Putin has said that Moscow could consider resuming nuclear weapons testing. This comes days after US President Donald Trump first said that Washington must begin testing nuclear weapons. The Russian president convened a high-level meeting of the country's Security Council. Putin said he has instructed the defense and foreign ministries to draft proposals on the possible preparation for nuclear tests. The Russian president also said that Moscow has always observed its obligations under the Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty. But Putin was quick to add that if the US or any other nuclear power breaks that moratorium, Moscow will not stand aside. Let's listen in.
I am instructing the Foreign Ministry, the Ministry of Defense, the Special Services, and the relevant civilian agencies to do everything necessary to collect additional information on this issue, analyze it within the framework of the Security Council, and make agreed proposals on the possible start of work on the preparations for nuclear weapons testing. Russia has always strictly adhered to its obligations under Comprehensive Nuclear Test Ban Treaty, and we have no plans to withdraw from them. At the same time, as I stated in my address to the Federal Assembly in 2023, should the United States or other treaty signatories conduct such tests, Russia would be compelled to take appropriate reciprocal measures.
Now, Moscow has not conducted a full-scale nuclear test since 1990, when it was still the capital of the Soviet Union. The United States last tested a nuclear weapon in 1992, while China and France followed in 1996. India tested its nuclear weapon in 1998, followed by Pakistan in the same year. No country, except North Korea, has officially carried out a nuclear explosion in the 21st century. But with Donald Trump in the White House, the global conventions on the testing of nuclear weapons are facing a moment of significant shift. Last week, US President Trump said on social media that he had instructed the Pentagon to start testing nuclear weapons on an equal basis with Russia and China. It remains unclear whether Trump was referring to tests involving actual nuclear warheads or simulated ones. But the message clearly caught Moscow's attention.
Are you talking about literally resuming underground nuclear detonation tests?
You'll find out very soon, but we're going to do some testing. Yeah, other countries do it. If they're going to do it, we're going to do it.
Okay, you can't clarify whether you'll resume.
I'm not going to say yet. I mean, I know exactly what we're doing, where we're doing it, but other countries are doing it, and if other countries do it, we do it.
The order came just days after Russia, on October the 26th, successfully tested its nuclear-powered cruise missile. The cruise missile is called Burevestnik and is capable of carrying a nuclear warhead. President Putin claims it to be a weapon that can pierce any existing defense system. That test, conducted shortly after a nationwide nuclear drill, sent a clear message from Moscow that Russia, in Putin's words, will never bow to Western pressure over the war in Ukraine. These developments mark a new phase of escalation in the tense relationship between Moscow and Washington, one that's already strained over the war in Ukraine. The renewed talk of nuclear testing is fueling fears of an arms race and a potential breakdown of long-standing non-proliferation norms. For now, no dates of nuclear testing have been announced, but Putin's latest orders, days after Donald Trump's remarks on nuclear testing, have put the world on alert. Moving on. Canada is opening its doors wider for global talent, especially those caught in the uncertainty of America's tightening visa rules. In its 2025 federal budget, Ottawa has unveiled a sweeping plan to attract skilled workers, researchers and innovators from around the world. At the centre of this push is a brand new immigration pathway, designed specifically for individuals affected by Washington's H-1B visa fee hike, many of whom are from India, who may now be reconsidering their options. According to reports, Canada's new accelerated immigration pathway for H-1B holders is part of a broader international talent attraction strategy and action plan. The government says this move will help strengthen Canada's innovation ecosystem and attract top talent in several sectors. While the US is making it costlier and harder to bring in foreign professionals, Canada is taking the opposite approach, offering them a faster, easier and more stable alternative. Under this plan, Ottawa will roll out a one-time initiative to recruit over 1,000 international researchers backed by an investment package worth up to $1.21 billion. The money will help Canadian universities hire top-tier global talent and provide them with world-class infrastructure for research and innovation. The plan states that around $714 million over 13 years will go towards launching an accelerated research chairs initiative managed by Canada's 3 major research councils. Another $285 million over 7 years will fund research infrastructure through the Canada Foundation for Innovation. Additionally, $95.4 million will support international PhD students and postdoctoral fellows relocating to Canada, while up to $85.7 million will help universities hire assistant professors from abroad. Beginning in September 2025, the US imposed a new fee of $100,000 on H-1B visa petitions, intended to reduce program misuse, favour higher wage applicants and push companies to hire more American workers. While renewals are exempt, the steep fee for new petitions has alarmed US businesses, particularly startups that depend heavily on foreign tech workers. It has also unsettled Indian professionals, who make up more than 70% of all H-1B holders. Recent data shows that nearly 283,000 Indians held H-1B visas in 2024, and the total number of Indian H-1B professionals currently stands at around 730,000. For many of them, Canada's new policy could signal a turning point, expanding the global map of opportunity just as the American path grows narrower. Prime Minister Mark Carney has made it clear that Canada's goal is to build a smarter, more targeted system for talent attraction. So, as Washington raises barriers, Ottawa is lowering them. For thousands of skilled workers, the question now is no longer how to reach Silicon Valley, but whether the next great innovation hub could rise north of the border. That's all we have on the show for today. We will see you again tomorrow at the same time. Until then, thank you for watching.
From breaking news to the day's biggest controversies, shedding light on the world's top headlines, detailed analysis on the stories that matter the most to you. Catch it all on Spotlight at 6 p.m. India time and 12:30 GMT, only on Firstpost.